Hey Liverpool fans, have you seen the latest release? At AnfieldIndex, we've teamed up with Liverpool FC to announce that the brand new 24-25 LFC Nike home kit and anthem jacket are out now, and they're hotter than ever. The brand new kit pays homage to the legendary Rome 1984 side, featuring sleek pinstripe detailing that brings a touch of history to our modern game. Whether you're cheering from the Kop or watching from home, you'll feel the spirit of the Reds coursing through every stitch. The best part? You can grab yours today. The new kit and training range are available in official stores, online, and through the LFC store app. Don't wait, order now and be ready to show your Liverpool pride in style. Get your hands on the new 24-25 LFC home kit and anthem jacket today. Let's make this season unforgettable. You'll never walk alone.
When you need mealtime inspiration, it's worth shopping Kroger, where you'll find over 30,000 mouth-watering choices that excite your inner foodie. And no matter what tasty choice you make, you'll enjoy our everyday low prices, plus extra ways to save, like digital coupons worth over $600 each week. You can also save up to $1 off per gallon at the pump with fuel points. More savings and more inspiring flavors make shopping Kroger worth it every time. Kroger, fresh for everyone. Fuel restrictions apply.
Thanks for choosing this free Anfield Index podcast. If you'd prefer to listen to this or any of our other shows without adverts, then now's the time to check out Anfield Index Pro. With AEye Pro, you can supercharge your entire listening experience. You'll not only get all of our podcasts without the ads, but you'll have them far faster with our quick publish feature available exclusively for subscribers. AEye Pro also puts you in the heart of our sound studio, with an option to listen to many of our shows live and interact with the podcasters in real time as the shows are recording. Upgrading couldn't be easier. AEye Pro is available on all popular podcast platforms, and we have our own apps for Apple and Android. Just head on over to AnfieldIndexPro.com and get started today.
Hello and welcome to AEye Scouted on Anfield Index Pro. I'm Dave Hendrick, joined as always by Mr. Karl Matchett. How are you, sir?
I'm feeling decidedly game 39 about things. How are you?
Yeah, pretty much the same. As I said to you beforehand, I really can't be arsed spending a whole lot of time talking about this upcoming game against Wolves. It's a meaningless game for both teams. It has no bearing on anything. So if it's good with you, maybe we do 5-8 minutes at the start and then move on to more important goodbyes and such.
A marvellous idea, and let's put about as much as effort into this part as, players have over the last month.
Yeah, exactly. So we've got a pretty good record against Wolves since Jurgen took over. We've lost once in the league in a couple of cup games that we didn't really take seriously. This will be the third time that we face them at Anfield in the final day of the season. The previous two were the 18-19 and 21-22 seasons, neither of which ended the way we wanted to. They are without Craig Dawson, Leon Chawone, but Pablo Sarabia and Pedro Neto are back for them. For us, no Joel Matip, but potentially Thiago, Jota and Andy Robertson all back. All I want, Karl, is I want Thiago on the pitch for 30 seconds. I don't care how fit he is. I just want to see him drop a shoulder, send someone the wrong way, and spray a pass. That's all I want to see, and I can end this season happy.
If he does that, that's probably another 3 months on the sidelines.
That's fine. He's leaving anyway. I'm prepared for the sacrifice.
That's fine. I got a couple of players that I would like to see feature. I don't expect all of them will, but I think it would be fitting and fair, given, like you said, there's absolutely nothing at stake, but there is a club future at stake for people.
Right. So are we talking squad players or are we talking youngsters or a mix?
A mix of both, yeah. A mix of both, to be honest. I would like, first of all, for example, to see Costa Simica start.
Yeah.
I mean, let's be honest, a performance here, good or bad, is not going to be a difference maker or a deal breaker in terms of what happens to him in the summer. That's going to be either he's already decided, the club have already decided, or the incoming manager will decide whether he wants his involvement or not. But if Robbo's only just back from injury, what's the point? Doesn't need to be in the team. We're not going to get any benefit or whatever. So while Gomez obviously started the last match, that's fair enough. There was still, in theory, something we could do. I think Costas has been overlooked for an awful long time, and I think it would be fair if he was handed a game. I think there's an argument to say Kelleher could get some game time, whether that's as one of 5 subs or whether that's starting in a match a season which has obviously been his biggest to date. And further forward, maybe 1 or 2 in the middle that I'd like to speak about as well. But I wouldn't mind seeing Jayden Danns get a game,
Yeah, I mean, for me, of those you've mentioned, Jayden Danns, I absolutely would like to see. Whether it's off the bench or I'd be fine if he started, but I'd like to see him get kind of 15, 20 minutes, a decent run out. I really want to see Costas get the game. I really do, because I do think he's been unfairly treated this season. You go back and look at that run from when he came into the team against Everton at home up until he got injured against Arsenal. He started all bar 2 games. He came off the bench against Luton and he didn't play at all against Sheffield United. He was rested in that one. And he played really well. He played really well. And then he got injured. And since coming back, and he returned on the 10th of February against Burnley, he played 1 minute. He didn't play the next 2 games. He played against Nottingham Forest for 6 minutes. He didn't play any of the next 6 league games. He played 6 minutes against Everton when the game was already lost. And he hasn't played in the last 3 games. He's had 1 start in all competitions since coming back from that injury. That was the Southampton game in the Cup. He got 19 minutes off the bench against United in the quarterfinals. And he did play 33 minutes and have the match-winning assist in the League Cup final. I just feel like he's been done wrong over the last run, because it's not like Andy Robertson's had a good season by any means. Joe Gomez was excellent. I didn't mind Joe keeping the spot, but my issue was Robertson immediately jumping Costas when Costas had outperformed in this season. Especially, I know Robertson has done far more in his time at the club, but Robertson was also poor last season. So I felt like with Costas in form, if Joe was going to be out, Costas should have been the one to come in. But it hasn't been that way. I'd really like to see him get the start here.
Yeah, I do think it would be fair, especially as we can imagine there will be a bit of a turnover as well in the staff, playing staff. But maybe not as much as, it's not going to be an overhaul or anything like that necessarily, but I do think that there will be a few players who say, this is a natural end to the cycle for us. And, it's probably a reasonable time for us to decide what else we want to do. And maybe Costas is one of those, despite contract not all that long ago.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty clear one of him and Andy Robertson needs to leave this summer, because we need to bring in a new left back. If we're looking at priorities to address in the squad this summer, left back is absolutely one of them. For me, I think it would actually make more sense to sell Robertson. Number one, he's 30 years of age, so he's older than Costas by, I think, 2 years. I think Costas is 28, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, Costas has just turned 28. Robertson's just turned 30. So Costas is younger. Costas has 3 years left on his deal. Robertson has 1 year left on his deal. Costas is used to being a backup, and I don't think would kick up much fuss about staying as a backup. Whereas I don't know how well Andy Robertson would transition into being a backup. Robertson's also on much, much higher wages. So for me, and I also think Robbo would bring in a bigger fee because name recognition would draw clubs to him, regardless of the decline in the last 2 years. I think it makes more sense to sell Robertson and keep Costas for another year as a backup, and then maybe look to move him on next summer.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, like, there's no way of really knowing, obviously, what, shall we say, Mr. Edwards and co. might already be thinking, planning, looking at, seeing where they can extract more value. Probably have already crunched about 16 terabytes of numbers that we don't even know about, and have come to a decision on 2 or 3 players already, to be perfectly honest. I wouldn't be surprised if it was a completely new left side for us next season. But equally, I don't think I would be surprised if first day of the season we've got those 2 again, exactly the same. I don't think that would be the best idea, but nor do I think that it is absolutely, desperately, 100% certain that we will get new people at that area of the pitch.
I'm actually incorrect. Robbo has 2 years left on his deal, not 1. So maybe he does get kept another year, but I'd be stunned if he gets another contract. Like, I think there's little to no chance he gets an extension, just the way Michael Edwards operates. Virgil and maybe Mo and Allison are the only 3 I think that would. Virgil and Mo for sure, and maybe Mo are the only ones I think Edwards would even entertain giving contracts to over the age of 30. But yeah, I still believe Robbo would bring in a much bigger fee and would clear a lot more money off the wage bill.
Where do you think he could go, though? I don't want to get too bogged down in this with everybody, but Robertson in particular, age, skill set, fee that you expect that he might be, and who he would play for?
Yeah. I mean, I think Bayern Munich are going to be looking for a new left back. I think they could be drawn to him. I think he might enjoy the challenge of that.
I don't see him abroad. I really don't.
See, I don't see him going to Spain or Italy, but I could see him going to Germany for a different challenge. Remember, he's already abroad. As far as Andy Robertson is concerned, he's played foreign now for most of his career. And see, the other thing as well is neither him nor Costas count as homegrown. No. So he doesn't even have that going in his favour. You know, again, the thing he has going in his favour is that he's Andy Robertson. He's been incredibly good. But at this stage, I think the balance swings towards Costas makes more sense to keep. If he was to move within the Premier League, he's going to want to go to a good team. He's not going to want to go somewhere crappy. So, like, he's not going to go to Fulham, let's say. Could he go to West Ham? If Moyes was staying, I think it'd be more likely, but they definitely need a new left back. And I think Robbo might be attractive to them.
Would you go to West Ham if you were Robertson?
Well, what are my options? Sit on the bench at Liverpool or go and start for West Ham every week? Newcastle's not a bad shout. Guy has said Newcastle, but I feel like with Lewis Hall performing as he has recently and Dan Burn sort of been the incumbent, they're probably okay at left back.
I don't think I would go to. I don't think I would go to a West Ham style if I was Andy Robertson.
Depends on who the manager is, I suppose. There might be somebody that comes in that appeals to him. Villa could be an option. I mean, they've got Luca Digne, they've got Alex Moreno. Neither of them are all that good. So maybe Villa, if he wanted to go there. But I think a club like Bayern would make sense for him. I think if we were willing to say to him, look, you pick the club and we'll work with them on a deal, and we weren't going to ask for a big fee. I think the obvious one then would be he'd go to Celtic. Like he's been open that he'd like to play for Celtic, to end his career, but they're not going to give you a big fee.
Who else you taking to start this game then? Run through your ideal lineup and the 5 people you'd like to see come on as sub.
Right, so I'll start Ali, Trent, Ibu, Virgil, Costas. Curtis, just because I feel he deserves to start. Curtis, Endo, Alexis, Salah, Darwin, and Dominic. And then coming off the bench, Jayden Danns for sure, Thiago for sure, even if it's just 30 seconds, I don't care. Gakpo, because I think he's earned more minutes, so have him coming on 60 or whatever, and Harvey on about 60. So Harvey and Gakpo is the first two subs. Then Danns and Connor Bradley maybe, and give Bradley that kind of run out to end the season, because he's had a good year. He played a big role for us. So yeah, on 60, Gakpo and Elliott. On 75, Bradley and Danns. And on 90, just bring Thiago on, let him stand there.
Fair enough. You're not going to get a turn from him if he just stands there, though. I will go for...
He just needs to drop the shoulder, Karl. Just drop his shoulder, son, and everybody's going to run away from you. You're Thiago Alcantara.
I will go with Ali, Trent, Konate, Van Dijk, Costas. I'll leave Elliott in, McAllister and Jones, and Salah, Danns, Gakpo. And then I'll have Kelleher, Bradley, Gomez, and Diaz all coming on together. And then one final sub in the last 5 minutes who can be a new debut for someone. I don't care who.
I forgot about Gomez. He does deserve... Maybe play Gomez at centre-back. Maybe just play Gomez at centre-back. It might be his last appearance as well.
This is the first time he's played 50 games in a season for us.
Yeah.
That's massive.
Yeah. It's absolutely remarkable what that lad has been through and come back from. Like, the injuries that he has had would have finished anybody else at a high level. And yet the resiliency he shows. And it's not just the first time he's played 50. Like, his previous high was 43. If he plays the weekend, that's 52. 9 more games. That's massive. Absolutely massive. If he plays on the weekend, that'll be as many appearances this season as he had the 2 previous seasons combined. The poor lad has just been through the ringer, from the ACL just after Klopp arrived, the Achilles problem he had, the broken leg, the ruptured patella tendon, and all the rest that he's had to deal with, the different ankle and muscle injuries he's had over the time. Incredible resiliency. And yeah, I'd like to see him. Do you know what? Ibu out, Gomez in at centre-back for me. I want to see Gomez play centre-back just one last time, because, like I say, it might be the last time he plays for us.
Do you think we're going to get to see Danns?
To see
Danns.
Probably not.
No.
Probably not. Now, unless he just decides to empty the bench of young players as kind of a final, like, this is one of the ultimate signs of the progression that this club has made since I took over. Here's 5 young players, or 5, young/academy players. So, Kelleher, Elliott, Jones, Danns, and Bradley. There's the 5 subs. On you go, lads. And, he might decide to do something like that. Do you think he cares about winning the game? Like, do you think he'd like just to go out with one big win, or is it now just more a case of, like, just getting through it and just getting on?
I don't need a VPN. I've got nothing to hide. This is what I used to tell myself before I hooked up with LibertyShield.com. Not only is my home internet now fully encrypted, but I can now access all the websites I want, whenever I want, and do so from absolutely anywhere. As a Liverpool fan, I love to know I can now watch every match, regardless of whether it's on UK TV or not. My Liberty Shield VPN makes sure nothing is blocked and guarantees me super fast streaming speed throughout that match. You can get connected right now with their software package, which includes a 48-hour no-obligation free trial and instant access to their apps for Apple, Android, Fire TV, PC, Mac, and Android TV. Or go a step further like I have and get one of their pre-configured VPN routers. These small but powerful devices allow you to easily connect every device in your home to VPN, making it the perfect solution for smart TVs, Mac boxes, and games consoles. Visit libertyshield.com today and use coupon code AIVPN25 to get 25% off at checkout.
I think you would like to win just because it's a home game more than win for the points or the league or anything like that. I don't think it would be like we have to have the mentality to win every game kind of thing. I think you'd just like to win it because it's at home, and obviously the final one you wouldn't mind winning, but I don't think he cares about it that much. I don't think it's going to influence sub decisions, let's put it that way.
Yeah, I'd agree. Right, what's your prediction before we move on to more important things?
A final day ridiculous and irrelevant car crash of a game. 4-2
to Wolves.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it will be a bit of a mess of a game, to be honest. You've gone for the plan pot leg midfield with two lads that can't run very fast, so you're just asking for Pedro Neto to kill us on the counter if he starts. Yeah, I think so. I'll go 3-2. I think something similar. I think it'll just be a bit of a good time. Like everybody, including Wolves, know that there's something bigger going on the day. So for that reason, I do think it'll just be a fun game. Right, let's move on. First thing, I want you to pick your 11 of the Jurgen Klopp era. Now, it's not like the 11 most impactful or any of that shite. It's your 11. You can pick an 11.
Just my favourite ones.
Yeah, just your favourite 11. If you had to go and win one game, just pick an 11 players that have played for Jurgen at Liverpool. What would that 11 be?
Ali, obviously.
Yeah.
Trent. Gomez and Van Dijk. Robertson left back. Midfield of Fabinho, Jones and Gini. And then Salah, Firmino and Mane.
Was the hesitation there a choice between Mane and Coutinho?
A little bit Mane, a little bit Coutinho, and a little bit of Origi just for the madness, to be honest.
Just because football without Divock Origi is nothing.
Yeah.
Right, we had 9 of the same 11. We had 9. I picked Matip to partner Virgil, and I had Thiago in midfield with Fabinho and Gini. But yeah, the second question I ask you, which leads us into our next topic. You can only have one, but you can have it every day for the rest of your life. A Joel Matip big adventure or a Joel Matip temper tantrum?
It's got to be the temper tantrum. You can get that over and done within 3 seconds.
Yeah, so I have a poll running on Twitter at the moment. And at the moment, it's actually the big adventures that are leading the poll, which I'm quite surprised by. But Joel Matip is both the master of the 6'5" centre-back just randomly picking the ball up and beating 3 players who have no idea why he's running at them, and the comical temper tantrum when he feels aggrieved. But those are only obviously part of the Joel Matip story at Liverpool. So he arrives from Schalke on a free. He gets paired with Dejan Lovren. Initially signed, I believe, to play with Sacco, but Sacco did a silly thing and obviously was out of favour. Gets paired with Lovren, and let's be honest, the first 18 months were less than stellar. There was debates about who was better. It was clear Matip was better, but there was definite issues at centre-back. And then Virgil arrives. And from there, Joel Matip blossoms into one of the best centre-backs in Europe. Very unfortunate with injuries. He never played more than 43 games in a season for us. He's had 3 seasons with 14 or less appearances. But when he's played, Karl, he brings a calmness and an assuredness to the back line. Obviously very good in the air, very good 1v1. He had that bizarre dip-off in the back half of 21-22, but he has bounced back. And I think at the start of this season, we were talking about him and how great it was to see that he'd come back to form. It's sad to see it end on a torn ACL, but he's been a great servant to the club.
Yeah, no question about that. He's obviously he's often had issues with injury, and that's the biggest negative of his time here, obviously. But he has, when available, come back in and had stretches of games where he's been imperious. There was a period, I think it was the Champions League winning season, where he was better than Van Dijk. There was a stretch of games where he was our best centre-back. And it wasn't because Van Dijk was playing poorly or anything like that. Matip was just elevated, obviously partly by Virgil and partly by his own game, was just at its absolute peak. And one of those ones who, when he comes in on a free transfer, is not necessarily going to make the biggest of headlines, but definitely went on to make as big of an impact and more than could absolutely have been expected of him at any point.
Yeah, and you look back at that summer of 2016, and Joel is he's the first one through the door, and he's followed by Loris Karius, who is obviously going to be remembered for that Champions League final, but often forgotten as he played quite a vital role in getting us to said Champions League final and had played an important role in us getting a top 4 finish that season as well. But the two other transformative signings along with Joel, Sadio, for obvious reasons, first on the right wing when it was Sadio, Bobby, Phil, and then on the left wing once Mo arrived, and Gini Wijnaldum, who came in and just added so much. I mean, that type of transfer window kind of flew under the radar. A lot of people were wondering who the fuck Ragnar Klavan was. But to bring in Joel, Sadio, and Gini in one summer for less than 60 million for the 3 of them, and then watch what they blossomed into and watch how important they were. And obviously 3 enormous figures in that Champions League winning season. That type of transfer window is what I'm looking forward to moving forward, where we are getting in these types of players. But Joel was really, if you look at what Klopp's team would become, obviously he inherited Henderson, Firmino, Milner and Gomez. But of the players he brought in that actually made an impact, Joel was the very first one. And it kind of set the tone for what was to follow in terms of who came in.
Yeah, I mean, he was one of the first ones to come in and just be a starter as well, really. I know Gini, obviously, at the same time. But for people that was, let's say, lesser known, if you didn't watch outside the Premier League, of course, Matip had, I think, a bit of a different reputation than we actually saw, even early on. He was quite noted as being I never really thought he was, but aerially dominant because of his size, maybe because of different style of football there as well. But he played in defensive midfield at times in Germany as well. And obviously, we never saw anything of that sort here positionally. But then,
despite many people spending years saying, just stick Matip at defensive midfield. If Fabinho can't play, put Matip in there.
I mean, there was definitely a crowd of people wanting to see it happen, and maybe if he'd have been fit this year, it would have been him instead of Joe Gomez. We'll never know.
That's a good shout, actually. He might have gotten to run things back to those early Schalke years. And at Schalke, he had a reputation as being a very talented ball player. Like you said, he was noted for his aerial presence because of the height. But he was always tagged as a little bit error prone, a little bit inconsistent. They had some very good players. He was part of some good teams at Schalke. Benedict Huida is obviously playing next to him for quite a while. That's kind of who his primary partner was in the latter years at Schalke. But once he came to Liverpool, I mean, he just seemed very, very comfortable with the English game. Didn't have any concerns with the physicality, despite the fact, like, he is 6'5", but he looks taller because he's so thin. Like, he has that Peter Crouch type of frame. And you were a little bit concerned about, some of the big grocks in the Premier League, maybe been able to sort of knock him out of the way a little bit. But to Joel's credit, he took to it really quickly and was every bit the physical match for anyone he came up against.
Yeah, I don't think he was a player who really let us down. Like anybody, you might have had runs of poor form. There are a couple of players who he struggled against individually. Ivan Toney as a good example, but not all the time and not every time they faced them. He was definitely a player who was able to adjust and recover and defend a different way. He wasn't someone who was reliant on a single aspect of his defensive work. He could find different ways to defend against either sustained attacks from a particular team or individual players who managed to outdo him at first.
Yeah, I mean, that Ivan Toney game, that's at Brentford, early 21-22. Brentford new to the Premier League, Toney new to the Premier League. I don't think our players fully knew what to expect. And Ivan Toney absolutely battered Joel Matip that day. Destroyed him in all aspects. But to Matip's credit, whenever they put against each other afterwards, Joel dealt really well with them. And it kind of reminded me of the first time Didier Drogba went up against Daniel Agger. He absolutely battered him. And after that, Agger did really, really well. Now, Carragher likes to take the credit for Drogba not having a great record against Liverpool. That's almost entirely because when Agger was playing, Agger would mark him. But the Matip Toney thing always reminded me of that. Like, this one kind of game of, what on earth is this? I can't cope with this. To then figuring it out. And I think getting the better of Ivan Toney in any recent meeting, really.
Yeah, I agree. It was, like I say, one of his biggest strengths was being able to defend against different types of things, even like really fast forwards, wide forwards who would cut in. Joel would find a way, like very, very good positionally. I think one of his really big strengths was sending someone the direction he wanted, not the direction that they wanted to run as well. And considering he's not like a sprinter or anything, he was reasonably agile. Like, if someone did get in behind him, he would still have the capacity to recover, partly, of course, because his legs are 19 feet long.
Yeah, but he had that thing about sending attackers where he wanted them. He'd just make himself as big as possible. Like, he'd put his arms out. I've just knocked the bottle over. He'd put his arms out, and he'd just, because his arms are really long as well, he'd be this massive wall in front of them, and he'd just lead them to wherever he wanted, and then he'd time his tackle really well. Just a really intelligent footballer, and clearly an immensely popular individual. Like, Virgil van Dijk adores this fella. Like, it's nearly hero worship with Virgil. And I think that's the thing about Matip more than anything is, like with so many of the players that came in under Jurgen, just a really likable guy. Like, there's no superstar bullshit with him. You don't hear about Joel Matip when he's not playing. Like, if it wasn't for the fact that it's on the internet, you'd never have heard he had a wife, because he just keeps it all very quiet and on the down low, and just gets on with life away from football. And I think that's massively why he's someone that we've all come to like so much, is that he just comes in, gets on with it, and is clearly both a good human being and a very good footballer.
Now, I suspect after you've waxed lyrical about Joel, you might do so at length about your next person.
Yeah, we'll just move on then to Thiago, who hasn't spent as long at the club, obviously, as Joel. We bring to the end a 4-year relationship with him, which obviously half the length of the time Joel played. I said it on Two Footed today, Karl. There's very few times in your football supporting life where a player that you've dreamed of coming to your club actually comes to your club. And for me, Thiago is that. Like, we were linked when he went to Bayern, and obviously we weren't going to get him because he wasn't going to join to play for Brendan Rodgers. He's developed into one of the best midfielders any of us have ever seen when he's at Bayern. And when leaving Bayern, he has his choice of clubs and he picks us. And it felt like a real marker on how far we'd come under Jurgen. Obviously, Jurgen himself was a big part of why Thiago wanted to join. First season started okay, then he got injured, came back, was played as a defensive midfielder, kind of struggled. But then that end of season run, that last 10 games, he was just fantastic. Rolls into 21-22, and we are absolutely untouchable when he starts. 16 starts in the league, 14 wins, 2 draws. Those 2 draws were City and Spurs, neither of which you'd mark as a bad result. He just gave us something we hadn't had under Jurgen before. I think in terms of pure footballing ability, he's undeniably the best midfielder we've had under Jurgen. His ability to control games, the level he was capable of playing at, he was just so special. Obviously, last season, then the team falls apart around him. He's left carrying the corpses of Henderson and Fabinho, having to run around like David Batty, booting people because we can't get the ball back otherwise. And he gets injured. And he's played once this season. It was 5-10 minutes against Arsenal. He got injured again. And it's just a sad way for it to end. But in terms of pure footballing ability, we haven't seen many better than him.
Are you that person who has everything? The coolest merch and those must-have fan threads? Well, over at our Anfield Index shop, we've gone that extra mile when it comes to pimping up your Liverpool collection. From our popular range of bespoke design t-shirts, sweaters, hoodies and hats, to our signature edition mugs, prints and coasters, all provided with fast worldwide shipping. We have something for every red. We also stock official LFC merchandise and are licensed with the Premier League and UEFA to sell official iron-on shirt badges and sleeve patches. As a listener to this podcast, you can get 10% off everything with coupon code AIPRO10. Just head over to AnfieldIndex.shop or find us on Etsy by searching for Anfield Index.
Yeah, I think on a technical level, I would think probably, unless I'm overlooking somebody, the best player that we've had since Suarez, like on a purely technical level, with the ability to manipulate the ball. I don't think I'm overlooking anybody there. He's been a magician his entire career in terms of the ability to take the ball on the turn. Nobody does that better than him. His ability to switch play between the lines, really, really fiercely combative. I remember having quite obviously an in-depth conversation when he joined about things that he does that people don't pick up on, and being really strong in the air or aerial challenges was one of them, remember? And it was very, very quickly that we seemed to be relying on most of those defensive traits rather than on the ball traits. And it does leave a bit of frustration that we didn't use him as well as we should have done or could have done. And maybe when that midfield was altered when he came in, it should have been, since we were getting him, with an eye on freeing him to do everything he's best at.
Yeah, and that run at the end of 2021 with him, Fabinho, and Wijnaldum, I think should have pushed the club to extend Ginny even for 2 years. I think if they do that, I think we win the league in 21-22. I think we win the European Cup as well. I think if he'd been given that more attacking role that was wasted on Henderson, Fabinho and Ginny sat behind him and him just able to run the game. Like when they did play together, or when it was Thiago with Naby and Fabinho, we were just on a different level altogether. And I would say, from a technical point of view, I'd even put him above Suarez. Coutinho would be the only one that would kind of come into that debate maybe since. And before that, obviously, you'd have the likes of Gerrard and Alonso. And quite frankly, from a technical point of view, I'd probably put him above both. Stevie had amazing technical ability, as did Xabi, but I just think Thiago's just so special. Like, there's just, like, when you're a kid and you're playing for, youth football teams, and you're always told, like, when you're receiving the ball, don't receive it with the sole of your boot, and always check your shoulder. And he just had this innate ability to know where everybody was, and he could receive the ball with any part of his foot and just turn out of trouble. Could receive the ball with two on him. That meant there was a free man somewhere, and he was always going to find them. Like, you don't see many players like him in the past 40 years. We've probably seen 4 or 5. The likes of Lothar Matthäus, Andrea Pirlo, Xavi, Iniesta, and maybe you might put Toni Kroos into that group as well. But you'd be struggling after that. In terms of midfielders, obviously more attack-minded or attacking midfielders like your Zidans and people like that. I'm talking more in that kind of central midfield area. Just such a unique talent. It's such a shame that his body hasn't held up. All of that is Pep Guardiola's fault. All of it is Pep's fault. And I hope it causes him sleepless nights. But when he was good, he was just incredible. And he deserved to play more for us. He's when he played, he was good enough that you wanted him in the team every single game.
Now, I don't mind if you want to do it now or a bit later on, but I've got a few Klopp signing questions for you and Guy, who's on the line with us, to try and answer. But if you've
Let's do it now. Let's do it now. What have we got left, Guy? What have we got left? We've probably got 6-7 minutes left, have we?
10, 5-10 minutes.
Right.
Okay.
Let's do it now.
Right. I've done these with a few people, and most of them get them wrong. So let's see how you two get on. Who played or has played so far more games for Liverpool? Thiago Alcantara or Kostas Tsimikas?
Oh, wow. So I'm actually looking at Thiago's Wikipedia page right now, so I can see he's played 98 games for us. I'm going to say Thiago.
And
I'd guess Thiago as well.
Were you going to say that before you said the number of games?
No, I was thinking because when Thiago was fit, he played every game, whereas Kostas, even if he was in his best spell of form, Rob would come straight back in.
Well, you're correct. So it's 98, as you said, for Thiago. Kostas Tsimikas has so far played 86 for Liverpool. That's pretty much it, isn't it? It's first choice when you're fit, and the other one isn't. Simple as that, really.
Yeah,
although everybody else I asked said the other way around. It has to be Tsimikas because.
Do you know what it is? It's because Tsimikas played so little in the first season. Like, he's played mid to high 20s the last 3 years. I'm almost certain of that. 25 or more the last 3 years. But I think he only played like 6 or 7 the first year. Like, we barely saw him that first year, 2021, because there was so many injuries at centre-back that Jurgen just was playing the full-back. So at least we had some sort of continuity. So Robbo and Trent played pretty much every game.
Right, second one is 3 players this time. You got to put them in order. Most appearances for Liverpool: Loris Karius, Ragnar Klavan, Alexis McAllister.
Oh, wow. So Alexis is one season. I'm going to say Alexis 1, Karius 2, Clavan 3.
I'd go Karius, Mac, Clavan.
You're both wrong. Alexis has played 45. Loris Karius 49.
Oh.
Ragnar Klavan 53.
Did Ragnar Klavan play that many games?
He did.
What a time.
He did. What a time to be alive, indeed.
The Ragnar Klavan turn lives long in the memory. It's almost as good as the Thiago turn.
All right, next one is who scored most goals, and there's 4 of them this time for you to pick between. So Gini Wijnaldum, Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain, Luis Diaz, Cody Gakpo.
Oh, God.
Ox 1. Cody 2. Diaz 3, Ginny 4. Ginny had that one first season we scored a bunch of goals, but I don't think he did after that. I know he got the 2 big ones against Barca, but...
I agree with Dave, but I'd flip Ginny and Diaz. I think Diaz is last.
So who are you going? Sorry, your order again. You've got Ox first.
Ox, Cody, and then I've got Diaz and then Ginny, but Guy's gone Ginny and then Diaz, and I think Guy's right.
Okay, so with the fewest goals, 18 in all competitions, is Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain.
Really?
I was surprised about this as well.
He was like our third highest scorer one season.
Yeah, the year we won the league.
I think that was the season of 8, and then he followed that up with 1, 3, and 1 in his following seasons.
Yes, we missed a full year, like.
So Oxlade-Chamberlain got 18 goals in all competitions. I was sure it was like double that amount. But
yeah, so was I thought it was going to be 30 odd.
Gini Wijnaldum, 22.
Yeah.
Cody Gakpo, 23. Luis Diaz, 24.
Well, we did Diaz 30.
Well, Diaz has been at the club a year longer than Gakpo, so to be fair, that does make sense. Just feels like Gakpo scores more regularly. I'm not surprised Ginny is below the 2 boys. But yeah, I thought Ox was going to be mid-30s.
All right, straight up goals in all competitions. Harvey Elliott or Naby Keita?
Oh.
Given all of these have been the opposite of what I thought they were going to be, I'm just going to say Naby has more.
I was thinking Naby as well, because Elliott's not scored loads, I don't think. Either's Naby, obviously. But.
Harvey Elliott, 10. Naby Keita, 11.
Yes. Go on, Naby, lad.
Boy.
Right. Appearances in all competition. Harvey Elliott or Naby Keita?
Oh, Harvey Elliott.
Well, that's Harvey Elliott.
Harvey Elliott, 118. Naby Keita, 129.
Oh,
what Naby. What a buy. Bargain. Absolute bargain.
A double for Naby.
Show us your league title medal. Show us your Champions League medal, Harvey Elliott. Where are you?
Let's go back. Put them in our favourite teams.
Right, we got 1, 2, 3 this time as well. Most appearances. Stefan Bajcetic, Fabio Carvalho, Dominic Solanke.
Solanke played like 21 games one season, I think, and like 4 the next, so he's about 25. I'm going to put him 1. Dominic Bajcetic, and who was the third one?
Carvalho.
I'm going to go Dominic 1, Bajcetic 2, Carvalho 3.
I'd agree with that, actually.
It's a 3 out of 3 for you both. Tremendous work. Fabio Carvalho, 21 appearances. Stefan Bajcetic, 22. And Dominic Solanke, 27.
Yeah. Surprised Carvalho played that much, to be fair.
There were 5 minutes ago.
Well, yeah.
Played 100 minutes in total.
Right. Goals plus assists. Takumi Minamino or Sheridan Shaqiri?
In all comps.
All comps.
Minamino. The League Cup is the League Cup.
Yeah, that's what I would have said as well. But when Shaq had that run in the team, he got...
That one December.
That one December run where we went 4-2-3-1. It was beautiful, and then for some reason we moved away from it again. I'm going to go Shaq.
Well, you can feel free to kick me off the pod, but you're both wrong because they both got 17 apiece.
Oh,
So slight bit of trickery there. I do apologise, but no.
How dare you?
Yeah. I did have one more, and I've completely forgotten what it was now. I've lost the page. Gravenberch or Wataru Endo? More appearances this season?
Gravenberch.
Endo.
42 for Endo, 37 for Gravenberch.
Oh.
But Endo is ahead there.
Endo played more than I thought he did.
Who played more for Liverpool's first team? Ozan Kabak or Marko Grujic?
Ozan Kabak.
It's got to be Kabak.
Kabak 13. Grujic?
9?
16.
Did he play 16 games?
16 games for Liverpool.
When?
Jurgen Klopp's first signing, of course.
Yeah.
You're counting
decent player, to be fair.
You're counting pre-season there.
He's become a decent player. Can't get his game on at Porto, but it is what it is.
One last final one for you.
Okay.
Total games played by Darwin Núñez or total clean sheets for Alisson Becker?
Darwin's 2 seasons.
Did you say total goals by Darwin?
No, we wanted this to be a difficult question.
Yeah.
Total appearances by Darwin.
Ali's had a lot of injuries.
Yeah, but we had a great defence for a couple of years.
Yeah, but even Adrian was keeping clean sheets.
I think it's probably Darwin appearances because he's played a lot. Like he must have close to 100 appearances. And now, is that all competitions for clean sheets?
It is. And
then Ali clean sheets.
Darwin is very, very close to 100 appearances.
I'll
go Ali clean sheets, all competitions.
I'll say Darwin because Ali's missed a bit with injuries.
Darwin is so far on 95 appearances for the Reds. Ali's clean sheets, 111.
Yes. Ugh. Yeah, I'll take the win on that one.
Man's a monster. Do you want to hazard a guess at how many goals Darwin's got in 95 games so far?
33.
I'll guess his offside, 760 million.
You're both correct.
Yes.
Yeah, he has 33 goals. I was looking at it the other day. Yeah.
Not great.
Not great. Well, to be fair, 15 last year.
Transfers quiz for you.
There we go.
New offside rule coming in the coming years. He'll be onside.
Unless it's enough daylight to drive a bus through, he's still going to be offside 15 times a game. Right. Is there anything else then we want to touch on before we go?
I mean, unless you have any end of season closing thoughts, but I think we've done that to death, to be perfectly honest. And I think, as we've already said, there's lots and lots that could be said about Jurgen Klopp. There's lots and lots we don't really want to say about this season as a whole. So I think on we go, and we'll just get on with it with the summer again and look forward. That's what we always do.
Exactly. And look, there's plenty of stuff. We've already done our Wiedersehen Jurgen podcast, so if you want to go and listen to that, there's plenty of other Jurgen content floating around the place. There's Jurgen interviews. If you want to go listen to those, there's more than enough being said. We'd just be clogging up your ears otherwise. It's the final game. It's a strange kind of feeling. But I have to admit, I am very much excited for what happens next. I'm actually looking forward to this season being over and us moving on. I think it's because it's been such a long process to get here from when he made the announcement to now. Like, it's 5 months. There's been enough time for me to process, the fact that he's going. So I don't feel the way a lot of people do right now, where some of them are still in denial. But I think Sunday will be emotional. There's obviously some stuff to take place on the pitch after the game. And he deserves every bit of send-off that he gets. And I just hope anybody going to the game makes as much noise as possible for the entirety of the game, regardless of what's taking place on the pitch. The most important thing is the fella stood in the dugout. For this game and this game only, regardless of what he says. Ignore him, sing his song, and make all the noise you can for him. And with that, we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
We hope you enjoyed listening to this Anfield Index show. Please be sure to subscribe to our channel so future podcasts find their way to your device automatically. There's nothing quite like fan engagement, and we'd love to know what you think of anything discussed on this show. The best way to get in touch is over on our free Discord community, where both podcasters and listeners debate the hottest LFC topics 24/7. Sign up free now at AnfieldIndex.com/Discord. You won't regret it. You can also follow us on Twitter at Anfield Index and find us on Facebook by searching for Anfield Index. Oh, and before you go, we'd love it if you could leave us a 5-star review on your favourite podcast app. It only takes a couple of seconds, and it means the world to the people who create these free shows.
Sports Social Podcast Network.